going to try to move this down without hitting anything. Okay. Let's see. We've already covered all that. Okay. So some of these things are included in the germ training we did a year ago, but it's been a long time. So as most of you guys probably know, what happens is when a fetus is in the belly, they have no immunity. And then when they come out, mama's secretions down there, which is interesting because I was C-section. So that made me think the vaginal secretions are a big deal for the child's building immunity. Of course, breast milk. I did it with one, didn't do it, or two, not with one. I can see the difference, I swear. And then mother's immunity. You know how they don't get strep throat till they're like 2 years old usually? That's when mom's immunity fades, and that's when we come in. And that's, the eating healthy and those healthy germs, making sure that the healthy germs are not killed off. So our goal as teachers is to expose the children to the healthy germs, but minimize the unhealthy. And that's what we're going to learn about today. Oh, and that placenta you see there. It's a big deal. It's really trendy now, I guess you would call it, but it's the truth. Placenta's a big deal. So germs don't move by themselves, as we all know. They only move through touch, through us sneezing and allowing it to go out. If we keep it in, if we pay attention to our touching, now they can survive on air currents. Gosh, there are some things you'll see in here 9 feet away. Some germs can travel and survive for an hour sometimes. So holding that with the tissue is such a big deal. And then, of course, those skin punctures, which we don't feel like we don't think about very often. But if you have a boo-boo on your hand, no, you're not touching your nose or your eyes or your mouth, but it can slide right up in that boo-boo, which is why we always want to make sure those babies have covered Band-Aids. Now, this is the good stuff. And for every virus that we're going to go over here, I have made a sheet for every center that tells us what we need to do if the tummy virus is running rampant at your center. I'm not going to go over all these in super detail because you're going to have your sheets hanging up somewhere near the office so you know what to do. But one thing to know about the tummy virus is that it's going to live in your gut for 2 weeks. Okay, so which means when your tummy virus is completely gone, physically or whatever, you're not puking, you're not diarrhea, you got your energy back, is still in your feces and in your gut. So that's why it spreads so easily. We think that we're safe, and so we don't pay super attention to diaper changes. But that kid who had the virus, a week later, when we're changing his diaper and we get poopy on our hands, that virus is still there. Sadly, it lives on soft and hard surfaces for 2 weeks, which is such a big deal compared to all the other viruses. They go away so fast. In stagnant water for a year or months, really, we're not going to be dealing with that unless we have a water table, and you're not going to leave a water table unchanged for a year. But I thought that was pretty crazy. Pretty much somebody during that stomach virus season is always going to have virus in their feces. So what you can do is just diaper correctly all the time. And we are going to go over diapering correctly and hand washing correctly. And those things are also on this little packet I'm giving you. I just want to go ahead and say right now, you see down here it says 8% bleach mixture kills it. We use 10. The reason we use 10% is because every virus that we go over is killed at a 1 to 10 ratio. We are always covered with a 1 to 10 ratio of bleach and water. That is going to be 1 part bleach, 9 parts water. All right. So we are going to go over, there's a slide on that, but I do want to say that if you truly use 1 to 10, it will not bleach anything. It will not leave one white mark anywhere. It's when you go up to 2 to 10 or you're mixing your bleach wrong, that's when we're getting bleach spots. If we mix it right, it won't do harm to our materials. And we're going to go over all of that. But if you don't change it every day, it has absolutely no purpose. The Rona, I think we all really know about this, but we have found out through all this research, 5 days, the chances of catching it is really low, which is why we're 5-day quarantine. This is the virus that can live in the air up to 3 hours. So, thinking about that, if you've got some hillbilly guy who knows nothing about germs in that grocery store and he's just sneezing everywhere, and you walk down that aisle afterwards and he has Rona, that's why it spreads so easily, because it lives in the air up to 3 hours, which is crazy, right? The things we can do, know this: when Rona's going on, cleaning surfaces, although you do clean surfaces, right? But that's not going to make a difference, because the likelihood of catching Rona from a surface is almost impossible. It's all about breathing in those particles. So that distancing, not getting right up in somebody's face is a big deal for Rona. So that's what you can do for the Rona. All right, just the regular cold. We typically don't pay attention to the regular cold. It just comes and goes. But there's some really cool things I found out. It does live for a long time. You can catch that cold from a surface, unlike Rona. And this is the thing about all of these guys up here: rhino, parainfluenza, adenoid, all the cold viruses. Hand washing with soap and water kills all of these viruses we're going over. It can kill a cold, but hand sanitizer kills it better. And you'll see why. I'll show you a little video. It's super scientific. So just keeping that in mind, okay? That sanitizer's the best for a cold. Oh, and I did talk to one of my licensing buddies about hand sanitizer. Back in the day when Itters and Eckers was going on, things like hand sanitizer had to be locked up. They couldn't, it says keep out of reach. You were going to get discount unless it was locked. Now, as long as it is up high and out of reach, you're good. They also said if you'll get a fanny pack and wear it outside and put your hand sanitizer in it, you can do that. Kids can use hand sanitizer now. It's just that it has to be up high or unreachable. And they also did suggest out of sight because kids, but that's not required. Let's check out the sneeze.
Germs. Those pesky enemies traveling in the air around us and lurking on every surface. During cold and flu season, germs are everywhere. And one of the biggest culprits for spreading those germs? Sneezing. So what's the best way to cover your sneeze and not get everyone around you sick? Here in the depths of the Texas A&M Health Science Center newsroom, we decided to test it out. Using some wide open space, food coloring, and willing members of our production team, we found a way to demonstrate. We put on protective suits to keep the dye off our clothes, and we did everything we could to make ourselves sneeze. First up, the rude method. Ugh, did you see that? With no cover at all, my germs flew 11.5 feet. Next up, using your hands.
Yeah.
While this is a good way to keep your germs from spraying all over the place, the germs still got through. And look at her hands. Imagine all the doors, stairwells, and elevator buttons she could touch. Gross. Next, the vampire method. While this isn't the best way to keep germs from traveling, using your sleeve is a good way to cover your sneeze with smaller risks of contamination. Just be sure to cover your nose and your mouth. And finally, the tissue method. Not a lot getting through this time. So the question remains, if you have to sneeze, what's the best thing you could do? Grab a tissue.
Find if our gifts, everybody gets one that came. Yay for y'all for coming. All right, hand, foot, mouth is coming. It's right around the corner. It's the worst virus, in my opinion, ever. The things I did for my kids during that time, I remember Britton, he was on like 11 hours without pee. And you know, they say if your kid's not peeing once every 11 hours, to the hospital. And I found he was so young, man. He was like 13 months old. And I found that he would drink a banana slushy from Waggles. And that's what kept him out of the hospital. It is the worst thing ever. I've seen so many kids hospitalized over this thing. So, long story short, make sure we are doing everything we can to keep this guy down. One thing that I would like to say is with this virus, all three of them, that's another thing. There are three versions of it. I never thought that. And so I would take my kid to the doctor. Oh, it's hand, foot, mouth again. And I'm like, dude, he's got an immunity to it now. What's up? Well, he never said, probably didn't know there were three. So they can get it back to back because of that. You're going to get a fever for 1 to 2 days. Then the blisters come. So when you're in the classroom and you're checking those hands and feet and mouth and there's no blisters, it could be because of that. You know, they get that fever, you take them to the doctor's like, oh, it's just a, what is my pediatrician calls it, SDV, some dumb virus. Then you're going back 3 days later with blisters everywhere. So just a good thing to know. This one spreads like wildfire, as you know. It can live on surfaces up to 2 weeks, which means daily sanitizing of all surfaces. Of course, our 1 to 10 kills it. Changing that bleach water, cleaning your surfaces. It's a big deal to do that every single day if hand, foot, mouth is going around. Yeah, OCD surface cleaning, really. And then, you know, when you're in the baby room, if hand, foot, mouth is going on, passies all day. I mean, you know, that's really the only oral fixation that's going to keep all those toys out of their mouth. It's so hard on babies too, because they get those blisters and they literally can't suck a bottle. Now, looking at the flu, actually, the flu spreads less than any of these things we're going over. It can stay on hard surfaces for 3 to 4 days. So, yes, if flu's going around, you do want to sanitize everything. However, fabric, 8 to 12 hours. So, when you come back the next day, anything soft that had the flu on it, it's going to be gone by then. And on the human body, like if you do this, that snot with flu is going to live 5 minutes. So, that is, so surfaces, that's the biggest deal, really. Teaching a kid how to cough and sneeze correctly, and we'll see soon, a tissue's the best way. This is the second best way. And that correct hand washing, and I talk about it later, but used to with my old job, what my job was is 3 to 4 times a week, I'd be at a new center. And I did that for, gosh, 5 years. So I've seen so many centers and their sanitizing practices. I swear to y'all, there have been centers, not a lot, where these kids come into that classroom. They don't have to be told. They go straight to the sink. They wash their hands, get a paper towel, turn off the faucet. I mean, if you make it a priority, those kids can do it. I promise. I've seen it. Okay, let's see here. Oh, yeah. And also, flu spreads not only from the droplets, but flu gets into your poo too. So, careful diapering. Some things don't get into your poop, but the flu does. The croup, another one of my worst viruses ever. Have y'all had croup kids? Ugh, it's so painful. It's so bad. But this is another one that catching it from a surface is probably not going to happen. It's all about those droplets that are airborne. It lives in a human for 3 days up to 4 weeks. So they're healed, they're at school, they're coughing, the croup is still infectious inside of them. Again, soft surfaces and hard surfaces. By the time you get back the next day, there'll be no croup on anything. What you can do is practice that cough and sneeze covering and the hand washing. Correct hand washing. Incorrect hand washing does nothing. RSV, this is going to be the same thing. If you look at the hard surface, soft surface in the body, it does not live very long at all. So that's not going to be your focus. Your focus is going to be teaching them about the coughing and the sneezing and limiting those secretions. Passies. Strepy throat. It is not spread through surface at all. The only, I mean, hands are not surface, but that would be the only way. The key here is if you're breathing in droplets, if you're drinking, if you're touching sores, because impetigo is strep. So if you touch an impetigo sore, it can end up infecting you. We all know, I didn't know this, so I give my kid antibiotic. I'm like, strep throat rocks, because 24 hours later, we're good to go. If we choose not to use antibiotic, 2 to 3 weeks is how long you can be sick. And I didn't know that, but this is the same thing, just making sure that you're teaching those good skills, because you can't get it from contact. Sorry about the picture. I cringed 100 times when I posted it, but I just had to do it. That's a scabies. I had scabies. My whole family did. I worked at Head Start for about 10 years. I came home with scabies and I gave it to my whole family, and it was a week of horribleness getting rid of those. Those things were on me and my baby. I don't know if Kennedy's on here or not, but Kennedy, those things were all over your body. So it's when people are freaking out about lice dropping or scabies dropping, it's very rare that a lice kid will lay on a pillow and then another kid and caught that way. The way that it is spread is skin to skin and hair to hair. Um, Scabies mites can live as long as 1 to 2 months on a person. Off a person, 48 hours, 2 days. That's why you bag up everything, for 2 days. Nits, if they see, this drives me crazy. Like, I understand why the school system allows nits in, because those children cannot be out of school for 3 weeks, but nits can live and hatch. If a nit falls, it can and will still hatch. Okay, we know what to do with that licensed scabies. Okay, all of you guys know this. We had like a 99 or 99.5 thing going on with Rona, but the fever, send them home. It's 100.5 now. Maddie verified that for me. 2 diarrheas, a vomiting is what licensing says, a skin rash, but with a fever. So just a rash, they don't go home. Of course, positive COVID test. Did not know this, but in licensing, it says eye or ear drainage. Interesting. Lice, sore throat, and swollen glands. That's different, isn't it? You got a kid with a sore throat. If their glands are swollen, they can go home. If it's just sore throat, nope. Yellow skin or eyes. Isn't that weird they threw that in there? and herpes. And which is interesting because I didn't know that either. You got a live herpes blister, you're not supposed to be at school. Okay, let's all be real. We come to work sick. It has to happen sometimes, unfortunately. I wish it didn't. I do feel if we could get through like a month of letting sick people really being like, you better not come in with the fever, then the spreading wouldn't go as bad because it's like a cycle. But it is what it is, and we got to do what we got to do. So if you are here sick, just be super cautious and do the things you're supposed to do, because this is a selfish reason to do it. If you start spreading what you got to other staff, then when you come back or whatever in 3 or 4 days, there's going to be 4 staff members out because you gave them that virus. And now you're struggling because there's nobody to cover anything and you're coming on your day off. But it's a cycle. So if you do have to come in sick, cough in your elbow, well, first use Kleenex, keep them in your pocket, get a fanny pack, limit face to face. Don't be right up on the kids. Make it a conscious effort. If you got to talk to them in the face, look up or down. And that will really help because it is what it is. I mean, it's hard. Hand washing. Back in the day, when Itters and Eckers was going on, if y'all don't know what that is, it was a really strict scale. They came in once a year and they were like, you don't wash your hands after you touch that paint. So now we're being more realistic, and I want us to think about where are the bad germs and focus on hand washing them. I'm not telling you not to wash your hands when you come back in from outside. But if you're going to skip a hand washing, skip that one. We always wash after pottying. We always wash after diapering. I know sometimes y'all change your kid's diaper and you're like, oh, that didn't touch anything. And you don't wash. Or you don't have them wash. Or you change all kids' diapers and then wash your hands at the very end. Kitty Corner needs to focus on always washing hands between each child. We have got to cut down on the germs. You guys are expected to wash after every single diaper change. Wash those kids' hands. We're going to go over diapering, but it's going to be on that sheet your center gets. If you wipe a nose, guys, even though you use a Kleenex and you don't think you got snot on you, you need to go wash your hands, please. Before and after eating. Why? Because everything they've done that day is going in their mouth. And you might think, oh, well, the more kids out, the better, right? Like, get them all sick. But the truth is, is that's going to get you sick. That's going to get more staff sick. And it's just a horrible cycle. Again, train the children to do it. I've seen it. It can be done for 3 to 5-year-olds. Hey, another cool thing. I always, like when I would come and pick Kennedy or Britton up from here or the child care pre-K program they were at, I always made them wash their hands before they came home. And that helped their health and our health so much, leaving daycare germs at daycare. But you're going to have to train the kids to do it because you don't have time to do it. You know, like you don't have time to do that crap. Show the kids this video. This is not for y'all. This is for the kids. How to wash your hands in 6 fun steps. You can Google it, YouTube it.
Clean your hands, wash them, dry them. That's the plan. 1. First start with your palms and let's say please. 2. Wash the back of your hands, turn your fingers in the branches on trees. 3. Make bird wings, wash between your fingers. 4. Show your wolf claws, clean your nails off. 5. Wash your thumbs and give it a twist. 6. We're almost done. Now wash your wrists, turn your water on, time to link your palms and wash your hands. Doesn't matter where you've gone, even if you're home, wash your hands. Make the world more cleanly. Protect your friends and family. If you want to stay healthy, wash your hands correctly.
It's a super cool, catchy video that the kids will enjoy. So you can screenshot it, write it down, Zoomers. How to wash your hands in 6 fun steps. I think since hand, foot, mouth is coming, I'm sorry to keep harping on it, but it's just so bad. Since hand, foot, mouth is coming, please add hygiene to your lesson plan and show them these videos. So this is a cool one for you guys. The problem with antibacterial soaps. I know we've all heard it. This is straight from the EPA and the FDA. I got both information from both sides. It kills microorganisms that are good. It creates antibiotic resistance. You've heard that we're too clean. This is why. So, but this is the deal. They have proven over and over again that washing your hands correctly with regular old soap completely kills everything just as much as antibacterial. However, antibacterial is making you sicker. You know, it does kill everything, but it's killing all of this good stuff that we need, the stuff that keeps all these weird things that are going on now with autoimmune and autoinflammatory. You'll see more of that in a minute. So even FDA banned a whole bunch of antibacterial products. You don't see it promoted like it was. I remember a year ago, I wouldn't buy something unless it said antibacterial. And now I will not. Talking about outside germs, guys. Art center germs, dog germs, healthy and unhealthy germs. If you're going to skip it, skip the healthy ones. Licensing's new rule in the new book says we wash before and after meals, after diapering, and it does state when hands are visibly soiled, but it's in relation to diapering. It's in that diapering part. So I'm not telling you, don't wash your hands when you come in. I'm just saying that that's the truth. It talks about diapering and eating, and those are the two big old deals. I know we don't wash our hands all the time. We don't have time for it really, but we do have time for diapering and food. Make that commitment. Soap, not antibacterial. This is how it works. Okay, so a soap molecule comes in, all right, and it has one side of it loves water. The other side of it hates water. The water hating part of that soap tries to get away from the water that you're washing your hands in. That's how, if that virus is on your hands, that water hating tail, it's drawn to the fatty layer of the virus and pries it away. So simple, right? But it's so cool. When the soap comes in contact with that virus, with the main part of it, it'll wedge itself in there. And if you get enough of the soap molecules on you, which is why you got to do 20 seconds, because your hands are so intricate, there's all these little places. It actually kills it in like 2 or 3 seconds. But
No, I've been working.
Mute yourself. I recognize that voice.
I've been getting stuff. Where you been?
Mute yourself. You're not even listening to the training. You can't hear me. Mute yourself. Mute all. Yes. Okay. Somebody muted and went, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. Okay. So anywho, if you get enough of the soap molecules, it takes it all away. It pops that virus balloon. And then the insides spill everywhere. So we already talked about that. I can barely see my little arrows down here because this is so pale. All right, this is a very cool video.
Your hands up close are anything but smooth. With peaks and valleys, folds and rifts, there are plenty of hiding places for a virus to stick. If you then touch your face, the virus can infect you. But there are two extraordinarily simple ways you can keep that from happening: soap and water and hand sanitizer. So, which is better? The coronavirus that causes COVID-19 is one of many viruses whose protective outer surface is made of a lipid bilayer. These lipids are pin-shaped molecules whose heads are attracted to water and tails are repulsed by it. So, in water-rich environments, lipids naturally form a shell like this, with the heads outside and the tails inside. Their shared reaction to water makes the lipids stick loosely together. This is called the hydrophobic effect. This outer structure helps the molecular machinery of the virus break through cellular membranes and hijack our cells. But it has thousands upon thousands of weak points where the right molecules could pry it apart. And this is where soap comes in. A single drop of any brand of soap contains quadrillions of molecules called amphiphiles, which resemble biological lipids. Their tails, which are similarly repulsed by water, compete for space with the lipids that make up the virus's shell. But they're just different enough to break up the regularity of the virus's membrane, making the whole thing come crashing down. Those amphiphiles then form bubbles of their own around particles including the virus's RNA and proteins. Apply water and you'll wash that whole bubble away. Hand sanitizers work less like a crowbar and more like an earthquake. When you surround a coronavirus with water, the hydrophobic effect gives the bonds within the membrane their strength. That same effect also holds the big proteins that form coronavirus's spikes in place and in the shape that enables them to infect your cells. If you dry the virus out in air, it keeps its stability, but now surround it with a high concentration of an alcohol, like the ethanol or isopropanol found in most hand sanitizers. This makes the hydrophobic effect disappear and gives the molecules room to move around. The overall effect is like removing all of the nails and mortar from a house and then hitting it with an earthquake. The cell's membrane collapses and those spike proteins crumble. In either method, the actual process of destroying the virus happens in just a second or two, but doctors recommend at least 20 seconds of hand washing because of the intricate landscape that is your hand. Soap and sanitizer need to get everywhere, including your palms, fingertips, the outsides of your hands, and between your fingers to protect you properly. And when it comes to a coronavirus outbreak, doctors recommend washing your hands with soap and water whenever possible. Even though both approaches are similarly effective at killing the virus, soap and water has two benefits. First, it washes away any dirt which could otherwise hide virus particles. But more importantly, it's simply easier to fully cover your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. Of course, hand sanitizer is more convenient to use on the go. In the absence of a sink, use the sanitizer as thoroughly as possible and rub your hands together until they're dry. Unfortunately, there are billions of people who don't have access to clean drinking water, which is a huge problem at any time, but especially during an outbreak. Researchers and aid groups are working to provide solutions for these communities. One example is a device that uses salt, water, and a car battery to make chlorinated water that kills harmful pathogens and is safe for hand washing. So wherever possible, soap and water are recommended for a coronavirus. But does that mean it's best for every viral outbreak? Not necessarily. Many common colds are caused by rhinoviruses that have a geometric protein structure called a capsid instead of a lipid membrane. The capsid doesn't have nearly as many weak points where soap amphiphiles can pry it apart, so it takes longer for soap to be effective. However, some of its surface proteins are still vulnerable to the destabilizing effect of hand sanitizer. In this and similar cases, hand sanitizer may be more effective, especially if you then wash your hands to remove residual particles. The best way to know which to use for any given outbreak is to do what's best for all things illness-related. Follow the advice of accredited medical professionals. Need
Oh, the water went down the wrong way.
help?
Oh, okay. Here's the bleach and water stuff. Okay. They are affect more. Oh my goodness, guys. It'll get better in just a second. Okay. It's more effective than any other cleaner. If it's not stored correctly, won't be effective. So basically, really hot temperatures or really cold. Well, it won't work. If regular bottled bleach is on the shelf more than a year, it won't be effective. And then it does lose its potency after 24 hours. Did you see my elbow cough, everybody? Okay, so that's why every morning you're doing that. You're changing it out. Okay, don't be buying this stuff. You know they make this splash-free bleach now. Or anything that's diluted, you got to buy regular old bleach. Okay, I'm not going to go over diapering because it's going to be on the thing that I give you, but these are the steps in licensing, the Tennessee diapering process that we're supposed to follow. You're going to get a copy every center. Where's my little arrow? This is also on it. This is your two-step. Most of you guys know this, but some don't. The thing that I see mostly that people don't understand is that you got to spray that bleach, and the best way to do it is let it air dry. But a lot of times you can't do that, so it has to set for 10 seconds or it won't work. It used to be 20 seconds, but they lowered it to 10. The same sink, it's going to be on there too. The same sink, a lot of people think it's part of an old assessment system, but it's actually part of the Tennessee diapering process. That's where you are disinfecting the poopy germs, basically. So after a child goes diapering and washes their hands, there's going to be poop in that bowl, or you wash your hands. You would be wanting to spray that with bleach and let it set for 10 seconds, well, your bleach mixture, before you wash hands for lunch, because then every kid could get poopy on their hands before they eat. So it'll be on your little thingies that are coming to the centers. We force hand washing. Why? Because it's health and safety. Activities, that's not health and safety. If a child is hitting someone, we make them stop because that's a safety problem. Always remember that, health and safety. Be certain that you're checking the bathrooms for poop toilet paper if you're in a preschool classroom. Stand-up diapering is just minimize germs. That's what you're thinking of. Don't change their diaper and not wash your hands. Okay, oh, sorry. This is not a video we're watching. It's called Germ Wars. It's on YouTube. It's a really cool kid video about germs. Like they're having this war and there's all these monsters and stuff. So do your own research. Try to show like a video on germs once a week. Let them know what's up. They're the answer. Y'all can't make them wash their hands and do all of these things. We got to get it in their brain in a kid kind of way. Okay, nearing the end, we're going to switch now. We're going to talk about the good germs. There is pathogenic and non-pathogenic. Are y'all all using your elbows? Everybody start coughing. What's up? What's weird? Everybody take it. Is it my water? Something's wrong with my water. Those non-pathogenic bacteria, Those are the good ones. You can see a little chart here. The non-pathogenic do all good things. The pathogenic do all bad things. We do not want those good germs to go away. I'm so ready for this. All y'all better be listening, Zoomers. This is a big deal. All right. Grounding reduces pain and it alters these things, lymphocytes, neutrophils that you might have heard of if you've got a child that has a bad immune system or something. You'll hear those words. It affects inflammation big time, and we're going to get into that. So this is why electrons from the earth enter our body, and they are an antioxidant at that point. Skin contact with the surface of the earth lets those electrons spread all over your body and into your body. It even helps with aging. I want to tell you guys what has happened to me over the past week. All right. I am going to skip that. I'm going to skip that. Okay. Stop. I want to go true story. That's where I want to go. So when I was doing all this research, I've always been a big person to ground. All right. I've always been like, yeah, ground, go out there, walk barefoot. Even I've told you guys on trainings before, you have an hour left, take off your shoes and go outside. But this time I studied the science. Okay. My foot's bad. If you see me, I limp around, and it has been so bad for 3 months, it wakes me up. I made a commitment after watching the video I just passed to spend 1 hour outside barefoot. Guys, I swear to you, my foot was not swollen. There was absolutely no pain after an hour in the dirt. We just walked around. I uncovered my feet in dirt. Woke up the next morning. Guess what? Limping. Went home. This has been a 3-day thing, guys. Right now, I can walk on my foot like I haven't been able to in a year. It's crazy. So what I did, I saw all this stuff online. I called my brother. My brother's an electrician. He calls me a hoo-ha hippie, whatever. You're woohoo, crazy lady. I called him and I said, Jared Lab, does the earth have a negative energy charge? He said, yeah. I said, okay. What about us? Are we electric beings? Yes, we have electricity. We are electric beings. Our brain fires with electric impulses through our body, everything, our heart, everything. He stopped right there and he said, look, I like to make fun of you because you're weird, but this is true, he said. I said, well, talk to me. They're telling me I can ground my bed. And he said, no, don't buy into that stuff. This is the deal, sis. We have to dig at least, he said a pretty big number, between 3 and 6 feet in the ground with a pole to ground a house. Okay. So when they ground a house, the pole has to go pretty deep. He said, what you need to do, and it'll work without a doubt, it's electricity. You can either go to the pole that grounds your house, or you can go to your electric box because it's grounded or whatever. I said, well, can I just go to something metal in my house since my house is grounded? He said, no, because it's having to pass through lots of things. It's got to be direct source. Take copper wire, connect it to either your electric stuff box or that pole, or dig you another pole. It needs to go to metal inside your house. Put your feet on that metal and it'll work, no doubt. But all that other stuff out there, I cannot tell you if it works. So I'm going to do it. So this is from my brother, who seriously laughs at me all the time about stuff like that. I just shared with y'all a way to heal yourselves. Are you excited? Okay, so just try it. And if you do and it works, if you're like me and have weird pain, let me know. I got to know. All right. We are almost there. I'm going to play this video that changed my life, and that's the end of the training. So please don't start. I'm going to play this video. That's the end. And then you Zoomers can sign off. I'll have your name. I do want to say this, though. Child Care Resource and Referrals, CCRNR, they have fanny packs to give away. They have thousands of fanny packs. Donna Carver is coming to Madisonville with fanny packs, and whoever has Lenore City now, I think Rhonda is going to Lenore City with fanny packs. Kingston people, all you guys out there, if you'll contact your CCRNR people and say, we got 15 classrooms, so we need 15 fanny packs, they will bring them out. And I think that they're full of stuff. So get those. That's real important. I wanted to say that. Also want to say next month is going to be a pre-lit training, which we all need. So try to come. We only have 7 people here this time because lots was going on. Come to that pre-lit training. We need it, and it'll be really good. And I like to give away gifts, so you'll get gifts. I love buying things. So that's all for now. One more thing, Zoomers, if you have a friend sitting beside you watching this, I'm going to need you to send me a text. If your name says iPhone, I'm going to need you to send me a text. But if your name is your name on your participant thingy, I don't need you to do anything. I will give you guys credit. I have to register some new people within a week or 2. This training will be showing up under health and safety for 2 hours in 10 PAL. But give me a week or 2 because I got a lot of new people to register. All right. If you have questions, please don't put it in the chat. Text me. Here's your video. Watch it, please. And then you can sign off.
What is the science behind grounding? And how can I explain it to my husband who dislikes anything he perceives as hippie, woo-woo, or spiritual?
Sounds like me.
This is the #1 question because even I, who have benefited so much from earthing, I have trouble explaining it in a way that doesn't seem absolutely insane. But thankfully, we have Clint Ober here, who wrote this book with the medical doctor and Martin Zucker. And so there's a lot of science in the book. But what is the science behind grounding? How do I explain it to a layperson, Clint?
Well, I've spent 23 years trying to do that. And I'm still very challenged. But the thing I've learned over the years is the only way you can really explain what grounding, I can explain it technically, it's very simple. The earth has a negative charge. That's why we ground everything electrical to the earth in order to maintain electrical stability. The human body is the most electrical thing in our environment. And it used to be naturally grounded to the earth before the 60s when we invented rubber sole shoes. But everything in the body we need to be grounded and for electrical stability and primarily our immune system. But it takes a little bit to explain that. And most people don't want to learn the tech. They don't want to learn the science. They just say, if this works, give me 2. I need 1 for me and 1 for my mom. But basically what I have learned is I started out grounding people 1 at a time 23 years ago. And then sometimes 100 at a time, sometimes 300, 500, 800. The longevity conferences with David Wolf, we would ground up to 1,500 people at a time. But by grounding people and letting them experience it for a half hour or an hour or 3 days during a seminar, it's life-changing. And people get up and say, why didn't somebody tell me about this? And it's really a challenge. So it's really the best way to understand grounding is to look at the Earthing movie, because there is a body of evidence that speaks to most women, moms, and caregivers. And then go outdoors, take a chair, take your shoes off, put the chair outdoors on the grass, put your feet on the grass, or just sit on the grass with your hands on your feet and experience grounding.
Yeah.
If you have inflammation and pain in your body. If you have pain in your body, you have inflammation. You can't have pain without inflammation. So what grounding does is it reduces the inflammation in your body. There's a whole science behind it. There's 20 peer-reviewed published studies on it. You have the earthing movie. There's a plethora of material out there, but it's really as simple as going outdoors and doing your own study, putting your bare feet on the earth, putting your hands on the earth, and notice the difference. Or go to the beach for a few hours, and notice how you feel after.
After I go surfing, I'm tired, but I always feel more relaxed when I get out of the ocean, for sure.
So, but it's really it's all about. We used to be naturally grounded. All animals who live in nature, they are naturally grounded. They don't suffer cardiovascular disease, lupus, MS, autism, and cancer, and all of these modern health disorders. Yet the animals who live indoors.
Oh, crud. Just give me a minute. Somebody's dog's barking. Mute. Oh. Okay.
With their owners, they all suffer the same health disorders as their owners, meaning 50% of them die from cancer just like their owners. But cancer rarely exists, if at all, in nature. So we've disconnected from this energetic source that maintains the electrical stability of the body and primarily the immune system.
Yeah. So you could, scientifically talk about like the charge that the body holds and how this basically creates a perfect environment for inflammation to persist, and how grounding can kind of take out that electric charge. But really what I hear you saying, Clint, is seeing is believing. And that's how most of us really are. Try it out for ourselves to actually see how it works.
You got to do your own research.
Yeah.
But it's free.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable. It's fun.
Yeah, I totally. And so when I first heard about this, I'm like, okay, I'm in so much pain at the time, not anymore, thanks to Clint and thanks to earthing, thanks to Mother Earth in general. He just helped reconnect me to the earth.
Yeah.
And what I realized is, I'm 40 now. I've been disconnected, even as I was pictures of me as a baby learning to walk with shoes on.
Yeah.
I have been so disconnected from the earth. And I didn't realize that I was an electrical being. I don't know a whole lot about biology. I don't know a whole lot about electricity. I don't know a whole lot about earth and electrons and negative charge versus positive charge. I know a lot now because I read Earthing. And what Earthing did for me is it made it real. Not only are there real life stories in your book of real life people who have healed, it convinced me enough, without trying to convince me, it convinced me of seeing these other people, it's at least worth trying.
Yeah.
And I remember the first day that I went earthing, it was free. I had no product, no service, no subscription, no money paid. I simply took my shoes off, put them in the dirt, and not instantly, but within an hour, I started to feel some relief. And then I started grounding every night. Eventually, I went to Clint and got some. I paid for all of it. This is not a sponsored sort of thing right here. We got a grounding mat for my bed. We're standing on grounding mats here in our studio right now that connect us back to the earth. So you don't have to have any products. Earthing's 100% free. I was in the ocean this weekend, and how wonderful is that? Free earthing. But what I noticed after a couple weeks, after 6 weeks, my whole life had changed appreciably. And what I noticed is that grounding didn't heal me. It's almost as though it was removing the things that were creating the dis-ease in my life. Did you enjoy this standalone Patreon highlight? If so, you can listen to full episodes of the Minimalist Private Podcast, available exclusively on Patreon. Visit
Okay, guys.